In this Ramadan Daily Droplets, we're going to talk about Ramadan as a time where we look after everyone, and particularly as it relates to Zakatul Fitr. Allah Azza wa Jal said, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. Umar bin Abdul Aziz, he said about this ayah, successful is the one who tazakka, either purifies themselves or gives the zakah, and then remembers the name of his Lord and prays. Umar bin Abdul Aziz said about this ayah, tazakka means zakatul fitr, وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى, and remembers the name of his Lord and prays. That is when he goes to the Salatul Eid. So he gives the Zakatul Fitr, then he remembers the name of Allah Azza wa Jal and he makes the takbirat, and then he prays Salatul Eid. He prays the prayer of Eid. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. That person is truly successful. The one who gives the Zakatul Fitr and remembers the name of Allah Azza wa Jal and prays the Salatul Eid. That person is truly successful. And as for the summary or the nature of the Zakatul Fitr, Abdullah ibn Abbas narrated, فرض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم زكاة الفطر طهرة للصائم من اللغو والرفث وطعمة للمساكين. He said that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم made obligatory the Zakatul Fitr in order to purify the fasting person from al-laghu wal-rafath. And subhanallah, all of us, our fasting, it has to be that your fasting had a degree of al-laghu wal-rafath, a degree of, if you like, not giving it its dues, not concentrating properly, and some words that were said that shouldn't have been said, maybe some anger at times, perhaps some bad words that shouldn't have been said at times. Al-rafath, it can be evil words of speech, any words of speech that shouldn't have been said. Ultimately, we've talked about how everything is supposed to fast. Your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your hands, your legs, all of them are supposed to fast. How many of us can say the whole of Ramadan that was true? Or that there were elements where we fell short, and there were times when we exceeded or we went over the limits of Allah Azza wa Jal with what Allah had commanded us to do. There were times when our eyes and our ears and our tongue and our hands and our feet didn't fast the way they were supposed to. And to purify this, that is why we have Zakatul Fitr. And in order to provide food for the miskeen. And this is from the mahasin of Islam, the beautiful features of Islam that we should all be proud of. That Islam is not just a one-sided thing, that is just about purifying yourself or looking after yourself. Rather, the way you purify your fast is by looking after other people, looking after the needy. وَطُعْمَةً لِلْمَسَاكِينَ, and a food for the people who are poor. Because on the day of Eid, everyone should celebrate Eid. Everyone should be celebrating. All those people that completed Ramadan, they should be celebrating. And it's not fair that the wealthy and those who are comfortable celebrate and those who are poor don't have enough food to eat. Rather, the people who have it, they purify themselves, and the way they purify themselves is by looking after the poor people. The hadith continues, مَنْ أَدَّاهَا قبل الصلاة فهي زكاة مقبولة ومن أداها بعد الصلاة فهي صدقة من الصدقات. Whoever gives it before the salah, before salat of Eid, it is a zakah which will be accepted from them. And whoever gives it after the salah, it's only a charity. It's a basic charity. It's not zakatul fitr unless it's given before the salat of Eid. So this brings us to the issue of when the zakatul fitr is to be given. And the opinion that we're going to put forward, and the one that we feel is the safer of the opinions, is that it is counted as Zakatul Fitr either on the night before Eid, that is the night when there is no Taraweeh, or 1 day or 2 days prior to that. So the night when there is no Taraweeh, that's the proper time for it. The night when there is no Taraweeh. But if a person gives it 1 day or 2 days before that, then this is acceptable, inshaAllah ta'ala. Based upon the hadith of Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma, in which it said, وَكَانُوا يُعْطُونَ قَبْلَ الْفِطْرِ بِيَوْمٍ أَوْ يَوْمَيْنِ. They used to give it before the Eid al-Fitr by a day or by 2 days. And the hadith is narrated by Al-Bukhari rahimahullahu ta'ala. So who is to pay the Zakatul Fitr then? Everyone who is able. Everyone who is able. That's what Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala is narrated from him. And this is what's the easiest way to explain it, that everyone who is able to do so. And everyone who has the provision for a couple of days worth of food, a day's worth of food, and they have enough for themselves and their family for Eid, then they are required to give Zakatul Fitr. And it's to be given from everyone in the household. That is from the old, the young, those who fasted, those who didn't fast. Even some of the scholars recommended it, even though it's not obligatory, to be paid on behalf of the fetus that hasn't been born yet. So it is to be paid on behalf of the whole household. But who pays it? The one who pays it is the one who is the munfiq, the one who spends upon the household. So the husband is the one who is spending upon his wife and his children. He pays Zakatul Fitr on their behalf. He pays it on their behalf. The one who typically spends upon you is the one who is responsible for paying Zakatul Fitr on your behalf. So who is it paid to? The Jumhur, the majority of the scholars, they said it's paid to the people of the zakat that are mentioned in the ayah إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينَ to the end of the ayah in Surah At-Tawbah. However, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he said it's only specifically for the first two categories. So it's not for all categories of the zakat, but it's specifically for the faqir and the miskin. That's who it's particularly targeted towards. The poor person, either the one who is faqir or miskin, the one who has totally got no money at all, or the one that has money but it's not enough for their basic needs. So the person who would be eligible for the zakah because of poverty. That's the one that it is paid to. And it's better for a person to distribute it themselves. But there is no harm. And Imam al-Nawawi, he mentioned this in his Majmu' rahimahullah ta'ala. He said the best thing is for the person to give out or organize the Zakatul Fitr for themselves. But if a person gathers together and he gives it to the Imam, or he gives it to the person who goes around, or he gives it to the one who usually gathers the Zakatul Fitr like a charity, he said if he then goes and gives permission for that person, he says to that person, you have the permission to go and take it on my behalf and distribute it, then this is acceptable. But he said, but for him to give it out by himself is better than that, all of those things. So here, what we would say, a lot of people ask the question is, okay, I know how to give it. I know who it should be given to. But how do I actually do this? We would say that you should begin, if possible, with the people that are near to you. Some of the scholars, they even preferred if you can give it to the relative that is needy, if you know of a relative or a neighbor who is needy, you give it to them. If not, look at the people in your home area, your city or your locality. Instead of looking at people across the world in a different place, first make sure that the people in your locality are being taken care of and that they're getting what they need. And that is the asl in the zakah. It's taken from the rich of that place and given to the poor of that place. That's the asl in it. That's the basic principle in it. However, there is no harm in paying it abroad if it becomes difficult for a person, or the person can't find someone or doesn't think they'll be able to find someone. But especially in these times that we're in right now, and especially with the difficulties that a lot of people are having, financial difficulties at this time, I believe that if you look around, you'll find people deserving of it. But if because of restrictions, you're limited and you're stuck in the house, you can't go out, for example, and you're struggling to find somebody who is needy, then if you give it to somebody like a charity or something like that and you tell them to pay it on your behalf, there is no harm in that. But Zakatul Fitr, and here's where we come to the next point. Zakatul Fitr is something which should be given in food. It should not be given in money. There is no harm in you giving money to a charity and instructing them to purchase food with it. But it's not acceptable for it to be given out in money. And it's not considered to be Zakatul Fitr if it's given out in money. It's only considered to be Zakatul Fitr if it's given in food. And the amount to be given is a sa'. And a sa' is a measure of volume, not a measure of weight. So where a lot of people go wrong in this is that they consider the sa' to be a measure of weight. It's not, it's a measure of volume. It's like a liter, like liters or milliliters. It's not a measure of weight. Because those things, those foods, the basic food types, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the ones that were considered the staple foods, and Zakatul Fitr should be paid from the staple food, the food people will benefit from. Like, what's the main food that people store and eat? The main sort of base ingredient, like could be rice, it could be wheat, it could be dates. If that's a country where dates are the staple food that people have in the home, then you give it in one of these things. And a sa' is a measure of volume. And for the purpose of Zakatul Fitr, the safest opinion is that it's 3 liters. However, some of the scholars said if you go with 3 kilograms, you'll be fine, because 3 kilograms, even though it's a measure of weight, will always be more than 3 liters in almost everything, in rice, in dates, in everything. 3 kilograms would be more than you could pack into the space of 3 liters, which is approximately what the sa' equates to. So if a person does it in kilograms, there's no harm in that. And if a person gives more, there's no harm in that. It can be a sadaqah. It can be a sadaqah for them, and the Zakatul Fitr will be the obligatory amount. And if they give it to one poor person, there's no harm in that. And if they spread it out among the family, so one part of the family's Zakatul Fitr goes to one poor person and one to another, then there is no harm in that either. And as we said, if people are struggling in this time to find people because of issues with not being able to get out of the house or not being able to meet up with people, then inshallah there is no harm in paying an organization, like Imam al-Nawawi mentioned, to give it to someone who distributes the Zakatul Fitr. And likewise, included in that is paying an organization on the understanding and the niyyah that that organization will purchase the food and distribute the food before the Eid prayer. Because if it's not before the Eid prayer, it is sadaqah min as-sadaqat. It's a type of sadaqah from the types of sadaqah. So that's what Allah Azza wa Jalla made easy for us to mention about the Zakatul Fitr, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.